Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Miss Gilligan, and I'm so happy to be back with you today to continue our work with our fiction story, The Empty Pot. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to share my screen with you. All right, here we go. Today is the third day that we're working together with our fiction story, The Empty Pot. The first 2 days, our I can statement was, I can describe characters, setting, and plot events. As we read and reread The Empty Pot, we really focused on our main character, Ping. Our job as readers was to take what the text said, the author's words, and combine that with what we already know so that we could describe Ping. Sometimes we described how he felt, and sometimes we described him by a character trait. We focused on Ping's actions and words as he went through the story, from the beginning to the middle to the end. We have a new I can statement today. It is, I can write a descriptive paragraph. So our lesson today is going to focus on how we can write a descriptive paragraph about ourselves. But we're going to use what we learned about Ping and how we described him as a character to help us do that. So here we go. Let's start by reviewing character feelings and traits. You'll see that I've just splashed some words up here on the screen. What I want you to do is touch and say each word. And then I want you to think out loud, or if someone is there with you, turn and talk about which of these words are feeling words and which of these words are traits. Watch me first, or listen as I model. I'm going to read the words first. Worried, confused, determined, proud, eager, hardworking, honest, happy. I'm going to start with the word happy, that last word I read. I know that happy is a feeling, and I remember that we practiced showing a happy face. So I'm going to wait now. I want you to read these words and then think out loud or talk to someone who's there with you, which are the feeling words and which are the trait words. Okay, let's check and see if what you thought is what I thought. I made this chart to show which words were the feeling words and which were the trait words. So under feelings, I said worried, confused, eager, and happy. And under traits, I listed determined, hardworking, honest, and proud. If you notice, I put a little asterisk by the word proud, that little star. That's because the word proud could be a feeling and a trait. Did you agree with what I thought? Take a minute to look at the chart. All right, so these are just a few feeling and trait words that we talked about when reading The Empty Pot. Now, to get into today's lesson, we're going to listen to the story once again. We know that good readers reread text. So as I read out loud to you, I want you to just settle in, get in a nice comfy spot, and look and listen. After today, you can read this book more times on your own as well. I love to reread books. So settle in, get comfy, and I'm going to read to you. Okay, here we go. The Empty Pot, written and illustrated by Demi. A long time ago in China, there was a boy named Ping who loved flowers. Anything he planted burst into bloom. Up came flowers, bushes, and even big fruit trees, as if by magic. Everyone in the kingdom loved flowers too. They planted them everywhere, and the air smelled like perfume. The emperor loved birds and animals, but flowers most of all, and he tended his own garden every day. But the emperor was very old. He needed to choose a successor to the throne. Who would his successor be? And how would the emperor choose? Because the emperor loved flowers so much, he decided to let the flowers choose. The next day, a proclamation was issued. All the children in the land were to come to the palace. There they would be given special flower seeds by the emperor. Whoever can show me their best in a year's time, he said, will succeed me to the throne. This news created great excitement throughout the land. Children from all over the country swarmed to the palace to get their flower seeds. All the parents wanted their children to be chosen emperor, and all the children hoped they would be chosen too. When Ping received his seed from the emperor, he was the happiest child of all. He was sure he could grow the most beautiful flower. Ping filled a flower pot with rich soil. He planted the seed in it very carefully. He watered it every day. He couldn't wait to see it sprout, grow, and blossom into a beautiful flower. Day after day passed, but nothing grew in his pot. Ping was very worried. He put new soil into a bigger pot. Then he transferred the seed into the rich black soil. After 2 months, he waited. Still, nothing happened. Let me go back and read that. It says, another 2 months he waited. Still, nothing happened. By and by, the whole year passed. Spring came, and all the children put on their best clothes to greet the emperor. They rushed to the palace with their beautiful flowers, eagerly hoping to be chosen. Ping was ashamed of his empty pot. He thought the other children would laugh at him because for once he couldn't get a flower to grow. His clever friend ran by holding a great big plant. Ping, he said, you're not really going to the emperor with an empty pot, are you? Couldn't you grow a great big flower like mine? I've grown lots of flowers better than yours, Ping said. It's just this seed that won't grow. Ping's father overheard this and said, "You did your best, and your best is good enough to present to the emperor." Holding the empty pot in his hands, Ping went straight away to the palace. The emperor was looking at the flowers slowly, one by one. How beautiful all the flowers were, but the emperor was frowning and did not say a word. Finally, he came to Ping. Ping hung his head in shame, expecting to be punished. The emperor asked him, "Why did you bring an empty pot?" Ping started to cry and replied, "I planted the seed you gave me, and I watered it every day, but it didn't sprout. I put it in a better pot with better soil, but still it didn't sprout. I tended it all year long, but nothing grew. So today I had to bring an empty pot without a flower. It was the best I could do." When the emperor heard these words, a smile slowly spread over his face, and he put his arm around Ping. Then he exclaimed to one and all, "I have found him. I have found the one person worthy of being emperor. Where you got your seeds from, I do not know, for the seeds I gave you had all been cooked, so it was impossible for any of them to grow. I admire Ping's great courage to appear before me with the empty truth, and now I reward him with my entire kingdom and make him emperor of all the land." The end. All right, I hope you enjoyed hearing that story again. It is definitely one of my favorites. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a couple examples with you, and you'll remember how we worked on this before. I just want to review how we as readers took what the text said, combined it with what we already know, and described our character Ping. So here are some of my examples. The text said, when Ping received his seed from the emperor, he was the happiest child of all. He was sure he could grow the most beautiful flower. Now, in this text evidence, the author does tell us how Ping is feeling. He said he was the happiest child of all. But I'm looking to describe Ping using a character trait. So when I think about what the text said, I combine it with what I know. I know when you are sure of something, you feel prepared to do it, and you expect to be successful. So I can describe Ping as being confident. That's my character trait. Can you think of another character trait that would describe Ping based on what the text said on this page? My next example says, the text said, Ping watered it every day. Day after day passed, but nothing grew in his pot. By and by, the whole year passed. So this is in the middle of the story, when the important events are that Ping is taking care of that seed, but nothing is happening. I know that when you water a seed every day, you expect it to sprout and grow as time passes. And I also know that Ping could grow things as if by magic. I remembered that from the beginning of the story. So based on what the text said and what I know, I can describe how Ping is feeling. And I said Ping feels confused and anxious. Anxious is a synonym for worried. He's confused and worried because what he expected to happen. Remember how confident he was when he got the seeds. It's not happening, so he's confused and anxious. How else might Ping be feeling? Can you think of another feeling word that would describe Ping based on this part of our story? As the story continues, Ping has to go before the emperor with his empty pot. So when the text said, Ping said, "Today I had to bring you an empty pot without a flower. It was the best I could do." I know that Ping did not want to present an empty pot to the emperor, especially when all the other children had presented beautiful flowers. In this illustration, I can also look at how Ping is standing with his head down. And based on what the text said and what I know, I can describe Ping as feeling embarrassed. And I also decided to describe him using a character trait. I said Ping is courageous, which is a synonym for brave, because I know it took courage. He had to be brave to stand in front of the emperor, in front of all those children with an empty pot. Can you think of another feeling or trait that you would use to describe Ping based on this important event in the story? And then finally, I went to the important event at the end of the story. At the end of the story, the text said, the emperor said, "I admire Ping's great courage to appear before me with the empty truth. And now I reward him with my entire kingdom and make him emperor of all the land." I know that it is a great honor to be named emperor. And it is also an honor to be recognized for being brave and telling the truth. So when I combine the text evidence with what I know, I can describe how Ping feels at the end of the story. And I said, Ping feels proud of himself. Can you think of another feeling word that could describe Ping after the emperor names him the new emperor of all the land? I bet you can. I know how I would feel. All right, so that was a nice review of our story. We reread and we looked back at the process of how we described characters based on the text evidence and what we know. So now I'm going to share with you your reading response. This is where our I can statement comes in about I can write a descriptive paragraph. There are 4 steps in the directions for your reading response. So listen as I read them. First, I want you to think about the different feelings and traits we use to describe Ping. I've listed some over on the right-hand side in purple. The feelings we used to describe him were eager, happy, worried, confused, anxious, embarrassed, and proud. And the trait words that describe Ping in our story were determined, hardworking, honest, proud, confident, and courageous. So I want you to think about these different feelings and traits. Then you're going to choose a feeling or a trait that you'd like to write about. So you can pick a feeling word or you can pick a trait word. If you want to really be challenged, you could pick a feeling and a trait. But once you pick a feeling or a trait, you will write a descriptive paragraph telling about a time that you felt this way or telling about a time that you demonstrated this trait. Remember to give examples of your actions or words that demonstrated the feeling or trait. So I'm going to show an example of how I did this. My example, I chose to describe a time I felt proud. So here's my descriptive paragraph. The day I graduated from college was a day that I felt very proud. I had studied very hard in all of my classes for 4 years so that I could graduate. During my time in college, I would tell myself, you can do it, whenever I had to write papers or take a test. When I walked across the stage at graduation, I held my head up high, and afterward, I hung my diploma on the wall in my house for all to see. You'll notice that I have put some words in bold print. That's me showing you, let me go back a second, how I included examples of actions or words that demonstrated my feeling. So I just highlighted those in bold print. When you write your paragraph, maybe you could highlight the words that show your actions or your words that demonstrate your trait. So you can see my actions were I studied for 4 years. I could have even put in bold print, studied very hard. I spent a lot of time studying. I would also tell myself, you can do it. So those were some words that I said to myself to encourage myself as I studied. And then to show how I felt proud when I walked across the stage, what were my actions? I held my head up very high and I hung my diploma on the wall in my home. Those were things I did and said to show that I felt proud. So that's my example paragraph. Again, you're going to choose one of the feelings or traits, but if you want to write more than one paragraph, then you can pick more than one feeling or trait, or you could pick one feeling and one trait. I'm excited to think about you practicing your writing, because when we study characters in our fiction text, we understand them better when we think about how they connect to us. So thinking about a time we felt a certain way or we demonstrated a certain trait will help us with our writing. So let me come back to the screen. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Remember, your reading response is to write a descriptive paragraph, but you can also reread The Empty Pot as many times as you would like. I have really enjoyed these 3 lessons, studying Ping and his actions and words so that we could describe him throughout the important events in the story. Anytime you're reading a fiction text, make sure you focus on your characters and how you could describe them. I want you guys to take care, be safe, remember that we love you and we miss you, and I hope to see you again. Bye.